Hello there voltage modular people, PoohBear here and welcome to my channel. I'm just going to go over just a very quick update that I've done to Spanner, quick one to store and forward and some to the flip-flop counters. So the update I've done to Spanner really is I've actually added this fold option. I've swapped the arrows around as well from this override just to clarify that anything you plug into here is going to actually just ignore that part. And that will go through the fold. So at the moment we've got ourselves a sine wave going through, and I've actually wired up the 16th port, so that's what the signal looks through after it's been offset. So you get yourself quite a nice weird signal. And to turn the fold on, all I'm going to do is just turn this up, and as we turn this up you can see we're folding back the signal, so it's overdriving the signal and causing it to fold back. We've also got this fold plus plus that when we turn that on, it actually is folding at both ends of the signal, so you actually get yourself some nice patterns, and the offset pattern goes nice and weird as well. What we can also do is, I say, the override stuff will actually also have an effect. So at the moment, as you can see, we've got not a lot going on, so as I start to wiggle the control, we get enough cell sync over here. Not a lot, but if I actually put some fold on, some fold plus plus plus, let's do the same similar sort of thing. Hey, look, we're getting a bit of a square sort of shape I've got going. I've got to watch that and I'm watching this at the same time. It's a little bit hard. So there we go. So that's what you can do. So it folded the input signal as well. So that's a very, very straightforward thing. So if we actually move up now to the, say, storing forward, what's happened with storing forward is we've actually got a new option. Well, actually, no. We had an option called once only, which used to be once only and repeat. There's only two options. I've now got three options. So the live is now once only. So if you've got any patches that you create with storing forward, which you had left on the once only, you're going to have to come in and move it up to the live for it to work exactly the same. Shouldn't break anything because live slash what used to be once only, it didn't store anything really. That's the whole point of it. As you pour data into storing forward, and if it is on there, it will just clear the buffer and there's no more. So what we now have got is this new option called play once. Basically we can put anything in the buffer from, say, 1 step up to 999 steps, repeat, as we know, we keep going around and around and around, and play once means it's just going to play through the buffer once, and then it'll stop, and then it either reset or you hit on, click on the on, and it'll just repeat it once more, or play it through once more, and then stop again at the end. So that's all it is. And if it is playing halfway through, you can obviously fire off another trigger in to actually stop it from actually playing. But that's all that's for, is this play once. So I've got a few ideas coming up, and I thought, yeah, this would be really handy to actually have, so I can have multiple storing forwards, fire a trigger off, let it play that little sequence. I can fire a trigger off over to here, play another little sequence, and not worry about how many steps are actually in that sequence. That's the whole point of it. It doesn't matter, as I said, if there's 1 or 999, I'd have to worry about that. It manages that for me. Flip-flop counter, it may look like there's quite a big change. Really all I've actually added is a flip and flop out. Yes, I have all these controls here used to be really squashed in within the actual unit itself. It grew a little bit and I didn't actually expand it. I've actually taken the option of expanding it. I try not to expand my modules. It does mean that if you've obviously got this in a patch, you're going to have to just rearrange things. Usually you can just move it and then it'll shove everything along. But sometimes, I know I've opened up patches in the past where people have resized things, all of a sudden part of it's blocked off and you just got to click on the top and it just rearranges. But anyway, let's move on to what I've actually given you. We've got a new out on the flip and a new out on the flop. What I found myself doing a lot would be, I'd actually use, say, something like Andrew's constant, and I'd take a constant figure going into an A, and then I'd obviously switch it going from an X or a Y, depending on if it's on the flip and a flop. And I find I was taking that signal out, and I was doing that a lot, and then I'd have to have another flip-flop counter, which was actually doing some proper switching for me. So I decided, well, let's give myself a constant 5 volt, or we've got multiple options here. As you see, it says constant 5 volts. So at this stage here, it means if I'm in, obviously, the flip mode, there's going to be a constant 5 volts coming out there, and obviously flops off, so that it's going to be a 0 volt if that was on constant 5 volt. We have a 1 trigger. So even though I've got 16 steps, it's only ever going to fire out 1 trigger when it goes into a flip mode. And then obviously out of this port, it'll only be 1 trigger when it goes into a flop mode. And then we have per count. So at the moment, as I say, this is set to 16 and it's actually in a flip-flop with an on. So all these settings affect how the thresholds and when you flip and flop. But basically, in this particular mode, it is actually going to send out 15 counts and then on the 16th it'll go into a flop mode and it'll send a signal out of that, and it is a trigger, so this is a trigger as well. So there's going to be 15 triggers, or in this particular case it'd just be the one trigger because of the way we've got things set up. Now we've also got an input trigger. Now this may sound a bit confusing. If you are using a trigger to drive the flip-flop counters, the trigger and per trigger will be the same, because that's a trigger and I'm sending a trigger out and they're the same. However, what I do a lot, as you can actually see here, my trigger's actually been driven by this gate, and I can actually have a variable gate and all the rest of it. So basically I'm passing through the signal what's coming into here, and that's going to the flip of this, if it's in the flip mode, or the flop if it's in the flop mode. So it could be a variable length trigger that you're passing through, or it could be a gate that you're passing through, rather than a trigger. And as I say, because I've actually split these two ports, you can obviously mix and match things. So I could have just a 5-volt out of here and a trigger out of this one. So that's all the simple changes between the lot. We've got the fold, we've got this play once, and as I say, really it's the actual flip-flop stuff which is coming out of the flip-flop counters. So thank you for watching and have fun. Bye for now.